As NBA fans growing up, you're told from the very beginning to root for the team that's closest to your area. It's pretty much an unwritten rule. But one fan in New York decided to perform a little experiment. He wasn't just gonna settle for the Knicks or Nets. He wanted to give every team a chance to see who deserved his loyalty. And one team who he least expected swept him off his feet. Meet Roger Licorice. He is a diehard fan of one particular team, and how he became a fan of this team is truly remarkable. One day when he was 10 years old, he managed to get his hands on a Sports Illustrated magazine, and inside was a list of every team's address for some reason.
I got a Sports Illustrated magazine one day.
Inside, the addresses of every NBA franchise. So he decided to write and see what happened.
Roger saw it as an opportunity to go ahead and send each and every team a letter, basically stating that he was a fan of them, just to see who would take the bait and respond. He went full Stan mode, desperate to get any team's attention. Several weeks went by with still no response. It wasn't looking very promising that he would hear back from any of them, until one day when he finally received a letter back. Roger was absolutely stoked that a team actually wrote back to him, and it was from a team that was located 3,000 miles away, all the way from across the country, and that team was the Portland Trail Blazers. Now, some of you might be tempted to back out of this video right now because you might not necessarily care about the Blazers, but trust me, this is an incredible story. Not only was the Blazers the only team who took the time to write him back, but they also sent him a box full of goodies as well. Posters, t-shirts, you name it.
They were the only team to write back. I remember coming home from school and my mother said, "You have a package in your room." And it was a big ass box. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
And just that little gesture alone instantly made him a Blazers fan for life.
When they wrote me back, it was like they drafted me that night.
Portland was now his team, despite never even stepping foot in Portland at all before.
I knew nothing about the city. I knew nothing about, and at the time, we didn't have YouTube and we didn't have the internet like we do now. So I had to basically get into history books and learn about Portland.
By him being born and raised in New York, many of his friends were confused on why he decided to make the Trailblazers his favorite team. But he didn't care what his friends thought. Portland was loyal to him, so he made sure to show them that same loyalty.
The New York City man who wrote every NBA team as a child, and the Portland Trailblazers were the only team to write him back.
Like, whoever got my letter and opened it and decided to send me something, that was like unbelievable. And they're the reason, whoever it is, that I'm pretty much the way I am.
Throughout the years, he has managed to attend a few games here and there, and even saved the ticket of the very first Blazers game he ever went to. But obviously, it's difficult to go to as much games as he would like, given the fact that New York and Portland are so far away from each other, but always makes sure to never miss a game whenever the Blazers are in town to face either the Knicks or Nets. You better believe he's right there every time. Now, you won't believe how this story came to light. It was almost like he was meant to get discovered. You see, Lucy Martin, who is a Lake Oswego native, which is a city near Portland, was working in New York City at the time when she randomly walked by Roger's office and noticed all this Blazers stuff up on his wall. To her, it was kind of surprising to see that. It kind of caught her off guard because they were in New York. Imagine originally being from the Portland area like Lucy, and then randomly seeing some guy's office where you worked at full of Blazers memorabilia in New York of all places. That must have been pretty strange because it's not like they're your typical bandwagon type team.
Nobody can ever say I'm a bandwagon fan. I'm Portland all the way. I like all sports, but this is the team I ride for.
So of course she went up to Roger and asked him what's with all the Blazers stuff, and the rest is history. She was the driving force in why this story even blew up in the first place. She immediately whipped out her camera and started filming him talking about his love for the Blazers, which eventually led to him being featured all over various Portland news stations. He couldn't believe it when he got word that he was on the news all the way over in Portland. And on top of that, people found this story so amazing that they even offered him free tickets for Game 3 of the 2019 Western Conference semifinals between the Blazers and Nuggets, with former Trailblazers point guard Terry Porter giving him the news.
I'm calling to let you know that Blazers, Rip City Nation wants you to come out and enjoy the playoff games.
You gotta be joking me, man.
No, I'm real. I'm real.
So of course he took them up on that offer and made his way to Portland, where he was kinda treated like a minor celebrity. And get this, of all the games that he could have went to, it just so happened to be the game where the Blazers and Nuggets went into quadruple overtime, arguably one of the craziest playoff games in recent history. So it couldn't have worked out any better.
Today alone, I was treated like a king today. And the Blazers topped it off with a win. Oh my God.